Hey there, fellow horse lovers. Welcome back to the Daily Ride podcast. My name is Morgan. I am your host. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jennifer, the creator of Electric Pony. I know Jennifer through a mutual friend, Tara Polson, who I've previously had on the podcast. And Jennifer is a Colorado girl and a horsewoman, as well as a small business owner. She has an extensive background in aromatherapy training, holistic and herbal medication, and a wealth of knowledge about horses as a horse owner herself and someone who had the privilege of growing up with horses. I am so excited to have Jennifer on the podcast today. She is so much fun to talk to, and every time we speak, I learn something new about horsemanship or herbal medication, holistic, natural remedies for things, and just general life wisdom. I had the honor of being Jennifer's first online customer of Electric Pony's Pony Perfector. It's been such a pleasure talking with Jennifer and getting her take on the development of her products that I so enjoy, as well as learning a little bit more about her perspective on natural remedies, herbal medicine, aromatherapy, and lessons that she's learned from horses in her life. Please head on over to electricponyco.com to check her small business out and potentially support her. True and I are huge fans of her products. We think you will be too. And as always, the Daily Ride podcast supports Trueheart Healing. Trueheart Healing is my nonprofit foundation. We aim to support veterans, active duty service members, children with disabilities and life-altering illnesses and their families, develop skills like self-advocacy, confidence, experience joy, find hope, and discover purpose through interacting with horses and targeted exercises in an equine-assisted therapeutic setting. If this sounds like something that you would like to support, please head on over to www.the-daily-ride.com to make a donation. Trueheart and I deeply appreciate your support. Thank you so much for joining me, Jennifer. I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
Excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And of course, I know you through your wonderful products with Electric Pony. So I would love to hear more about your background with horses and how that has evolved into your product line now.
Okay, that sounds great. I started off riding horses in the mountains of Colorado and used to really play with horses as much as I can. Um, and that basically started my love of horses. And throughout time, I just have always been a renter rider and would ride any horse I could possibly get my hands on. I've been a wrangler. I've worked in really fancy dressage barns in Canada, and I used to ride like some of the warm bloods and thoroughbreds for people on trails, which was absolutely beautiful. Just ridden, I was ridden all sorts of horses all over as many places as I can. And so I do have this extreme love of horses, which I think you do as well. And it led me to start thinking about a product for horses because I'm in the natural products industry. I was in the natural products industry. And it just in working with a sensitive mare, I started thinking, why am I using products that don't really do what I would typically do for myself, like that aren't, basically not naturally based or plant based, and that don't have synthetic fragrances in them, and that just are just junk. I was like, why am I using junk on her when I would never use that on myself? So that kind of led me to thinking of Electric Pony. And then the reason I called it Electric Pony was my great grandfather invented the mechanical horse. And I was looking through articles about it and read that it was called the Electric Pony. It was referenced as the Electric Pony. And my good friend actually saw a piece of art and said, why don't you call it Electric Pony? And I was like, oh my gosh, it would just kind of fit. So that's kind of how it all started. But I just have had an extreme love of horses my whole life. And as an adult have just stepped farther into like really getting more involved with the horse world.
So you mean to tell me that when I would go to the grocery store with my mom when I was little and I'd beg her for a penny to go ride the mechanical horse, that was an invention that your great grandfather created?
Correct. Exactly. So
That is
I
so
grew up
cool.
Yeah, I grew up like going to the machine shop, and we would always go and ride the pony, and it would, you could like make it go different gates based on how you like pulled on the reins.
So
And
cool.
yeah, so it was a blast. And then as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to Missouri next week to go see we're restoring one of the original 1930s wooden mechanical horses,
Oh my gosh.
and my uncle's getting it like working again. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to ride it if he's got it working. And it's big and beautiful. So I'm hoping I can at least sit on it and get some pictures and like then have, then show how it works and so forth. But so yeah,
Yeah.
so isn't that funny? So that it was something that we all, as most of us, a lot of our childhood, we all remember going to like stores and riding the little horse.
Yeah. Yeah, way before I knew that I would grow up to be a horse girl. That's like a
Yep,
core memory of mine, and I'm sure it's is for a lot of our listeners too.
exactly.
You mentioned you grew up riding a ton of different breeds of horses. Do you have a favorite, or did you
You
have a favorite
know,
horse?
my horse that I rode everywhere. Like I think I had mentioned to you a long while ago. I would take my bridle in my backpack and get off at the bus stop and go find my horse on like thousands of acres. This horse, I mean, thinking back, like how good of a horse he had to be. I was probably like 12, and I would go hiking through, the pasture looking for him. I would get on him bareback and ride all the way home alone. He would leave the herd, didn't even pitch a fit. I rode bareback on him, and he would like take me home, and then I'd play with him, and then I'd ride him all the way back and let him go to the pasture. And then that was it. So can you imagine what a good horse that had to be? Like
Oh
sometimes
my
he would,
gosh.
he would come and find me when I would call him. And so Duke was my first horse that he did anything and everything for me, and was always so safe, just a safe, good horse. So he was my first, I would say he was my heart horse. And I've always tried to find a horse like him. And I would say I now have Diesel, who is very much like him. So it's fun to kind of go full circle and have someone like have a horse that's like super sweet. Anyone can ride him. He would take a beginner in a heartbeat and take really good care of them. And just I can hop on Diesel, same thing, bareback on, and like I ride bitless and I just ride around, and he's just so sweet. So that's been kind of fun to have that back.
Horses like that are worth their weight in gold.
They really are, and you just don't find those anymore. And if you do, they're quite expensive, as you know. Um,
Gosh, yes.
but yeah, it's they're hard to find, and it's it takes. I mean, I love all horses, so I'm not saying that any one horse is better than the other. They all teach you. We, as you and I
Mhm.
both know, each
Mhm.
horse teaches you something different and offers something new and opens up something new in yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that you have that with your two, your horse Grace. Was she your heart horse too?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Although I would argue that you're allowed to have more than one heart horse.
Oh, that me too. I mean,
But
that's what I mean. Like they all,
what
I've
you're
loved
saying,
every
like,
horse.
right, right. Like, I don't know that you can ever have too many, but Grace was really, she took care of me. And now I'm trying to
Hmm.
pass on that kind of, love and lessons that I got from Grace onto True. And True, like I'm trying to build that kind of bomb proof, worth your weight in gold kind of horse with True. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot
It
for them
does.
to grow into and learn. And it takes a lot to make one,
Hmm.
to teach them the lessons and teach them in a way that, helps develop them rather than breaks their spirit. So I'm always
Exactly.
curious to
Exactly.
hear about people's heart horses. And also, you mentioned you were kind of inspired to create Electric Pony because of a difficult mare or a sensitive
Yes.
mare.
Yes. Sensitive. I would say sensitive, and that's exactly right. And I'm now that I know mares more, I think mares speak to us clearer, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're much more opinionated and clear about what they like and what they don't like, just like us, just
Yep.
like myself. And it's a long story with her, but she was sensitive. And I would see her like pivot away from like different brushes that I would brush her with, and different products. She was really like really sensitive to products I would use on her. And So that's what I kind of was like, why am I using this? I bet she doesn't like the smell, or I bet she's not liking the chemical on her skin or something. I just could tell that she was sensitive. And so I started making my own like serums and oils to put in her hair and just kind of being more gentle. I found a new brush that was much more gentle on her skin, and she didn't mind me brushing her, but she really was very funny about being like groomed. She didn't mind me like messing with her mane and tail, but she didn't like me just to put in any random product. But she had pain. I'm now learning I was, discovering and unfolding and, kind of like an onion, unwinding pain on her. And I think that leads us back to like listening to your horse and listening to when they do pivot away. Is it pain? Are they sensitive to the smell? Are they sensitive to the chemical? Is it something, they're telling you something. And that is why I really believe in listening to your horse. And I would never judge anybody for using a chemical on the horse or a product on the horse that they feel like works. And I'm not here to like, you know, diss anybody for doing anything. I just think that listening to your horse is important. Some horses really don't like the smell of fly spray. Some horses really don't like you putting a bunch of gunk on their skin. Some horses, just like us, they don't want that. They're just sensitive. They have like, oh, I gotta like have that on my skin. And they do have thinner skin than we do as well. And they have, 10 million olfactory receptors than compared to us with like 300. So they smell like beyond what we could even imagine.
Yeah,
So
orders of
now,
magnitude.
exactly. So now you can kind of think, okay, no wonder why they don't like to be sprayed with like really intense smelling fly spray. If it has like a synthetic fragrance, maybe it's just the pyrothins, maybe it's the permethins, like maybe it's the chemical that they are just like, ugh, you know?
Yeah. Tell me about those pyrothins and permethins.
Yeah, so paraffin and permethrin, and there's another one called BPO, and they're basically fly repelling ingredients. And the EPA has they don't really love those, at least paraffin and permethrin. They're not really super excited about them. They're telling like insect repelling companies that they really should only be using them in smaller concentrations because they are toxic to our fish and to our honeybees. And so the EPA is they're on the fence from what I'm kind of gathering, like about whether they really want to keep this ingredient in the fly spray. So I set out to be like, okay, what could we do differently, and how could it work? Like, how could we make something natural work that doesn't have that specific ingredient in it?
That's
So
better for
that
the environment too, not just your horse's
exactly,
skin.
exactly.
Okay.
So not only is it your horse's skin, it's your
Mm.
lungs that you're breathing in, and it's their lungs. So you've got all of that, plus you've got it is deadly to honeybees. And I know that's kind of a problem right now. We're really needing to get our honeybees back.
Yeah.
And then fish too, same thing. So I just feel like for me, because of how my horse lives, and I don't show, so I don't have to have worry about my horse like picking up a foot to flick away a fly in it during a show. I don't worry about those things, but I do like to give my horse an hour plus of relief when I'm with him. And so I wanted something that like I could spray on him, make him feel good, wipe down his body, spray his mane and tail. It's not going to be sticky and gross and not going to sit there. It's not going to irritate his nose and lungs. So that's why I came up with like the product, the pony protector, because I just wanted something that was really well made from a lab, like with good ingredients, and that I knew that the essential oils were going to be like insect repelling. So yeah, so that's kind of why I started it. Was I just wanted something that I knew was a good ingredients.
I love that you brought that up because I almost forgot to ask you, what products have you developed with Electric Pony? What do you have available in your line?
So I started off with the 3-in-1 Pony Perfector, which is probably the most, is the top selling bestseller, but that's because it was my first product. I tend to get a lot of really positive feedback about that product. People are constantly texting me, emailing me, sending me messages, writing reviews about how it actually goes beyond just having it look good on their horse. It actually helps repel insects, and it helps like soothe itchy spots, repairs some, like parts on horses' coats that have been kind of itchy, or they've rubbed off their mane and tail. And I think that's because of the neem oil. And then the essential oils actually are antibacterial and antifungal, and so that kind of gets the bugs and like bacteria that might sit in their skin or might sit on their skin, and it clears it for them. So there's lots of different ingredients that do all of that in the product, but it's sort of like it's a 3-in-1. We can say it's for coat, mane, and tail. We can say it's cleansing, deeply nourishing, and glossing. We could also say that it's antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. Jojoba oil is very good for like dispelling like inflammation. So that's, I think, why it's so good for like the itching part. You know how like
Yeah.
sometimes they're itchy and inflamed. So many people have reached out about that aspect.
True hasn't had a case of the itches yet, but I love using your Pony Perfector on her dry patches on her elbows. I can tell
Yes.
exactly which side she likes to lay on because her elbow's all crusty there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if she's got bug bites, last
Mm-hmm.
summer she had this wasp or bee or something that would not quit stinging her under her jaw, and it got, I mean, just full of bug bites under there. And I
Mm-hmm.
would rub the Pony Perfector on it, and it would take the swelling down a bit, and it also seemed to keep the darn bug away, whatever it was. And I feel good
Yes.
about rubbing it in her ears. It's like this beautiful, very light lotion kind of consistency. So when I rub it in her ears with my hands, I rub it in my hands afterwards because it smells so nice.
Yes, that's exactly a perfect way to use it too, because you know how they get the little bugs in their ears, and
Mm-hmm.
they get those little spots in their ears. Have you seen those little
Mm-hmm.
white spots? So
Yep.
I
Crusty.
like to rub it in their ears too, and it's safe. Like that's the thing, is it's not like you're putting a bunch of chemicals in their ears to get the bugs away, right? So that's another reason, like another thing to do in the high fly season and high bug season, is to take a little bit on like a cloth. And I would definitely rub the Pony Perfector like around their ears and their face and inside their ears. That's much safer than using a really intense fly spray, in my opinion. So that product has been great. And then I thought, okay, I can't just have one product. I've got to try some other products. But I really wanted it to be, I want my products to be something that people would actually like, they would use, something that they really would use. And that would be obviously a fly spray. Everyone always has fly spray in their tack boxes. So I, came out with the fly spray, and it's still in a 16 ounce. So it's not a big, huge fly spray. It's for like it's kind of like for your arsenal of fly sprays. Some days you might want to use the more intense fly sprays, and some days you might want to just spray them down, wipe them down, and they're, bug free. And it's not like a really bad high, insect season. I've used it all summer, and I found it to be pretty helpful. There were a couple days when it was really humid, and just the flies were so bad where it didn't really even matter what you put on them. But I felt good about using that on my horse's skin, and noticing that he didn't ever mind me spraying him, and he also didn't ever mind, and he also enjoyed it. I could tell that he enjoyed the wipe down, so that he could, have a little bit of relief.
And it also smells very good too. True is a horse that loves the minty flavors, and so the lemongrass peppermint smell is just amazing.
Yeah, they tend to like it. So I had a horse that does not my friend rescued a horse and ended up having to send him back, but he wouldn't let her spray with anything. Like he would not let her spray him, and I said, can I try something? And I just wanted to see, so I sprayed it in my hands, and I let him sniff it, and he put his head into it and started licking. And she was like,
Hmm.
what the heck? I'm like, well, it's just not the chemical, it's like. And so she was able to put it on him. So I do think they tell us, like I keep saying, I do think they tell us if they're not liking something. It's not so much, might not always be the spray application. It might just be that they just don't like it.
Yeah. Well, just like we don't like the same perfumes. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I don't want to be sprayed in the face. I can tell you that much. Like me
True.
personally, it's like, who wants to be sprayed in the face? So, anyway, so I just think it's finding that balance with your horse. I think it's important to listen.
What are some signs that you should listen or look for when you're working with your horse? So, say one of our listeners is concerned about, oh, I've never thought about my horse's opinion on their fly spray. What
Hmm.
signs or communications would you be looking for to tell you whether they like or don't like something?
Well, I don't know if you know, forget Elsa, I can't remember her last name, Elsa Sinclair. She's a woman who's been a trainer for like very many years. And she's the one who got a wild Mustang and said, what would it be like to just get her permission for everything we did? No tools, no rewards, no saddle, no bridle, no whips, no nothing to even indicate anything. But what if we just did everything permission based? And something she taught me, which I started to pay attention to, is have you ever had your horse turn around and like look at you when you do something?
Mm-hmm.
While you're on them, while you're doing something on their body, even from the ground, they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of saying something to you that I feel like that's even that subtle. Hey, I don't know. Like they're looking back, like, okay. Sometimes, you ask them to look back with like a treat or whatever, but whenever my horse kind of looks back, I stop and I take a breath and I think, okay, what do they need me to do that will make them feel more comfortable? What are they uncomfortable with? So it might even be that just turning and looking at you, like, what are you doing? That's
And their
one
facial
sign.
expression.
Yes. I mean, there's right? I know
Mm-hmm.
True well enough to know that if she
Yeah.
stopped and like looked at you, you would kind of go, huh, right? You would kind of think about it, right? So I think that's number one. And then number two is obviously shifting or pivoting away from anything that you're doing. Like even if they just do a little side step, even like, that's them saying, hey, I don't like that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And again, I know training is there's things that can be, we can talk about training in a totally different light, but I have a feeling a trainer would tell you the same thing. Like if they're shifting away, some things they need some work there, something's wrong there. um, and there are horses that are just needing to be introduced to things, like they do need to be introduced to something new. But if you know your horse well enough and you know that you've already introduced something, I think that there's something to be said there, that like when they look at you, they're telling you something.
Yeah.
And
What are their ears doing?
and
Yeah.
are they listening to you? Are they paying attention to you?
Do they have that
So
wrinkle above their eye, like they're, the pain face we call it? Or true, being an introvert, I've had to really get good at paying attention to her because she won't outwardly tell me unless she has a really strong opinion about something, then she will tell me.
mhm.
But she'll hold her breath when she's worried about something.
Isn't that
And you would,
interesting? And
yep, you'd never notice it unless you were watching her breathe.
do you feel her hold her breath when you're on her?
Yep, it's happened when I'm on
Yep.
her, but the thing that clued me into it is when I forget what we were doing. We were doing one of our, I do a lot of positive reinforcement and trick training, and I had given her a cookie and she was concerned about something. I think it was when we were at our old barn and we were in the indoor arena, and there was always something going on outside, some noise, some person walking by the door. And she had taken the cookie, it was in her mouth, but she didn't chew it.
Mhm.
And it was like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute later that finally
Wow.
I heard the crunch, crunch, crunch. I'm like, "Well, you were just holding that in your mouth the whole time?" And then sure enough, it happened again. And I noticed, oh, you're not breathing. Like you're
Uh-huh.
taking the cookie, but you're still like holding your breath, processing, thinking about something.
Yes, that's exactly right. They do, don't they?
Uh huh.
I was and that's one of the reasons why I love to ride bareback at times, so that I can feel those moments of when he might hold his breath, and because he is such a used to just kind of like holding his crap together for
Mm hmm.
beginners and being on a string and everything. So I like to feel when he does get a little nervous or he holds his breath, and I've felt it. Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm hmm.
And not on the ground, I'm not as good at noticing it, but when I'm sitting on him, I can feel him when he
Yes.
hasn't done that breath, right?
They just hold really
So,
still,
yep,
little
really
too
still,
still.
a little too still, and you kind of go, something's off, something's off.
Yeah. Are you
And
live?
but that's another important thing I think to pay attention to with horses. So yeah, so that's why I feel like products, like even though they're, yes, they are for, making horses look pretty and everything, but they also can help us tell us what's going on with the horse too. And that's why grooming is important. It's our time to kind of tap in and get present with them and listen and pay attention to little things that might be bothering them. I mean, when you're grooming and your horse's tail is switching, like twitching,
Mm.
or like they're doing something and there's no flies, that's a sign, like something's wrong. Something's wrong. Like they're not liking this or that. And it could clue you into pain. You might find some pain that you never really knew about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, sorry, I cut you off. This has been a whole rabbit hole. You were telling me about your
No,
third
that's okay.
product.
Oh, third product, exactly. So the third product is the one that I love the most. It's the Ultimate Pony Treatment Serum. And I wanted it to be sort of like a serum that makes their hair glossy, that, is also insect repelling, and that's the Palo Santo essential oils in there. And something that just feels really good on our skin and on our hands and our hair, and then can also be hot clothed. And I love the concept of hot clothing because you just, it's sort of like a spa treatment, but it actually does more than that. It can keep your horse clean for longer. So if you are a show person, or if you are um, someone who would love to keep your horse cleaner for like maybe a day, or not even a day, I don't even know how long it would last out where I am. I mean, it wouldn't last a day at all, but there are people that really, like, in between shows, they might want to keep their horse clean, or they maybe just want their horse to like have the insect repelling oils and the soothing oils. So you would just wipe them down, and they look amazing. They smell amazing. It's very much like, to me, it's like, I love it when my horse smells good. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I love to put it like in the dock of my horse's mane and tail, and just keep it moist, and also at the ends. But it's really just like a serum, like a treatment serum, just like we would use for our own hair, our own skin. And the Abyssinian oil it does create that beautiful high shine. So if you are like about ready to get into the show ring, you can add a little bit to the dock of the tail, and then also to their whole tail and their mane, and it will give them that pretty glowy, gleamy shine without being silicone. So there's no drying silicone that gives that immediate shine, but it's actually, and it's not putting any sort of waxy, like, coat, it's not putting any sort of waxy substance on the horse's mane and tail. It actually absorbs. So that's the only thing about silicone, is it's great for giving that immediate shine, but it can sit on their hair, and it just sits there, and it doesn't allow for any of, like, any nutrients or anything else to seep in. So
Hmm.
that's why I don't put silicone in it.
Okay. So this treatment serum instead sounds like it's like very absorbent, very nourishing to the hair and
Yes.
skin.
Exactly, very nourishing. And like, I've been testing it on like the base of my horse Diesel's mane, and I'm noticing like he's growing a little tiny little fuzzy layer, like a whole nother layer of hair. So I'm like, huh, that's interesting. It must be stimulating his like scalp, or like the base of his hairline, enough to offer like more hair.
That's really cool. Yeah, healthy
I
skin,
know.
healthy scalp, healthy hair
Exactly.
follicles.
And also, like, our immune system is, it's where our skin and is where our immunity starts. Same with animals. So I don't like to put anything that would make them inflamed, might irritate their skin or irritate their bodies. So I do know of a horse. I do have many horses. I mean, one of my horses had a major reaction to a fly spray. Like, his whole eye swelled up for like a couple days,
My
and
goodness.
he got little like hives everywhere. And
Oh,
then
that's scary.
just recently, another horse in our pasture, they used like a spot treatment because the flies were so bad. Those little spot treatments that I guess you can, like, it's like almost, I think it's like 20 to up to 40% pyrethin. The spot treatments are,
Oh my gosh. The
which is
roll-ons and
a
the SWAT
lot.
and all that?
Yep,
Wow.
roll-ons can be heavier duty. So that's another reason not to use that around their face, because it's pretty intense. And then
I did
those
not
like
know
spot
that. I
treatments.
have a
I
roll-on
know.
for her face. I'm gonna go check the ingredients
Go
now.
check the percentage, but like the typical fly spray is like 0.2%, right? But the some
Mm.
of the roll-ons, not all of them, some of them can have up to like 20%. But the spot treatments, I saw some can be up to 40%. So
Whoa.
this horse had, like, he couldn't ride her. Her whole body broke out in hives. Her back was sore. She was not a happy camper. And she's a Mustang, so she was pretty, like, she could handle the flies, you know what I mean? Like, it was like
Mhm.
they're used to flies, like, they're used to the elements. And she had more of a reaction to the product than the flies. So it's just interesting when I know that the flies bug them, right? Like we know that, but I think that particular horse, she had a pretty severe reaction to it. And it was, I think she didn't feel good for like a couple of weeks. I mean, she was not happy.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that, yeah, so that, but I don't like to ever shame anybody for trying something to help their horse. That's why I'm like, I
Right.
don't, I don't say anything, but I was like, oh boy, that horse is having a reaction to the spot treatment
Right. Well,
in
and
my
there are known
mind.
allergens. There's a reason even for
Exactly.
humans we have like contains
Yes,
milk, contains tree nuts because there's certain
exactly. Yep,
things that people tend to have more reaction to. Like I am
exactly.
celiac. I can't have
Yes,
gluten. It doesn't mean bread is
right.
bad.
It just means your system can't handle it. And some horses, they truly can't handle it. And so I just like to have that. That's why I made the fly spray, just to make it so that it's another, another option for someone to try. And I like it that all three of my products have insect repelling ingredients in them. But
I was just going to ask, what are your actives?
so active fly repelling ingredients
Yes. Yes.
in the Pony Perfector, the neem oil is probably the main one. That's probably going to be the one that's kind of known as an insect repellent. But essential oils, actually, like geranium, is a great insect. Like all essential oils, most, I shouldn't say all, a lot of essential oils bugs don't like, right? They just don't like. But essential oils, depending on where they are, if like they're like a base note, a middle note, or a top note, depending on how they like, disperse in the air. And you probably have better technical words than I do, but like a citrus is going to is going to like disperse a lot faster than like a heavier resin essential oil. So geranium is great, kind of sits around a little longer. Clove sits around a lot longer. Benzoin, which is another essential oil that's in my Pony Perfector, they stay on the skin longer. So that's why I think the Pony Perfector is actually a pretty decent insect repellent. And then I wanted to make the Pony Protector, the 1 hour Pony Protector, without neem. And mainly it's for people like, let's say, like you, that like you're allergic to milk, right? Or not milk, but gluten, sorry. So I wanted to have a product that horses that might be allergic to neem could use as an insect repellent too. Because there
Okay.
are quite a few horses that do have an allergic reaction to neem. So that's why I'm like, I'm
Even
not
though
here
the
to say
concentration you use is
it's
really low.
very low. It is very low. That is, but it's like, it is low, but that's like saying to you, there's
Yeah,
only
it's
a
just a
little bit of
crouton. You'll be
gluten.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't like to say how it would make a horse who's allergic.
Mhm.
I don't like to say it's just so low that go ahead and try it. If like your horse is allergic to neem, then you probably shouldn't use
Yeah.
any neem products, right?
Yeah.
But ours is at least diluted enough to where I feel like it's safe for the horses that aren't allergic.
Okay.
And that's
And then if you
important,
know that you are, then you have a
then
different product to offer
and
instead.
we exactly. And then also we disclose every single ingredient that we use on our label, which is kind of rare for grooming products in the horse world. They don't
Mhm.
have to disclose every single ingredient. And so I like people to know exactly what's in the products. And, that's just how I am. I just feel like it's important for people to know because even for, let's say you're allergic to lavender, you don't exactly want to be using a product that has lavender in it if you're going to get it on your skin.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
that's,
true. I didn't even think about human allergies. Cause yeah, that's the beautiful thing about your products. They're safe for people too. And in fact, I've
yes,
used your serum on myself and it
yes,
has been
exactly.
wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, that's exactly right. That's why I'm saying, like, I was like using it on myself. I'm like, oh, this is like making my hands all itch and itchy. And, I just was feeling like I didn't like what I was using on my own hand. Like what it was just from rubbing it on my own skin. I'm like, so, so yeah, and I'm not sensitive, but maybe I am. I'm like, maybe I am more sensitive than I thought about certain ingredients. I definitely do not like I'm a pill about not a pill, but like I do not like synthetic fragrances at all. Like I mean people like my kids, everybody laughs at me. I'm like, "Oh god, I can like smell that from like way over here." It just I must have a keen sense of smell too because I can smell like everything. So that's
Well,
also
that
why
makes
I
sense
like
though.
using yeah, it's why I like aromatherapy because or essential oils because my body tends to it's like it's intrinsic. I
Yeah.
think because it's a plant our bodies know it. We just know it. And I take in their wisdom and their either story much better than I do something that's been kind of concocted.
So actually, this reminds me, I think previously you were explaining that your whole background has been like you are formally trained in aromatherapy, right?
I am. And so, I mean, yes, I'm basically, my background is in like, I studied herbal medicine, I studied clinical aromatherapy. I worked in herbal apothecaries. I've worked with aromatherapists. I actually worked with he was like a surgeon, an anesthesiologist, and he was really big into using ginger in the operatory instead of like the anti-nausea medicine. And he was
Hmm.
having some pretty cool like luck with that. So it was kind of interesting working with him. But I've just been involved in aromatherapy and essential oils for a long time. I was a fragrance formulator for quite a few really high end spa lines. I would make it like signature scent for them. I would, make all types of different scents for different products, but it was all based on essential oils. So, so I have that background, and then also have the background of like the natural kind of like natural products, and knowing a little bit about plants, and and just worked in clean rooms and labs, and I worked for homeopathic labs. So it's kind of my thing. And I've also worked for a vet. So I did work for an integrative vet for about 4 years, and he was pretty well known in the holistic like avenue of veterinary medicine.
That's really interesting. So not only do you have the formal training in the aromatherapy for people, but you've also had probably more education and understanding about how these plants and, plant-based fragrances and essential oils interact with animals and their
Yes.
mental and physical health.
And I used to get to listen to some, and I would get excited, but he was a small animal vet. So, but I would get to listen to them have conversations about like problems that they were having with different animals, and different like things that would work for, certain diagnoses or certain problems that people couldn't figure out what was wrong. And a lot of it's, as you and I probably know, it's like is their diet, their diet, their, and then also like, here's the thing, like people would recommend like a medicated shampoo for a skin condition when that is like the opposite of what they need, right? They don't need to put any more products on their skin that make them inflame even more.
Hmm.
So topically, I've learned like first you need to work on animals' diets first. Obviously, that's the first thing.
Yeah,
And
what's
just like
causing
what
the
you were telling me
inflammation?
about, like what exactly what happened with True, like the hay made her like go crazy, right?
Yeah, that one plant she had a reaction to. Yeah.
Yep, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to say that all plants are good. I'm just here to say like pay attention to what what your animal is doing. But I learned a lot, like just learning from like, oh, what was her name? She was a very very well respected vet, equine vet. That she, all the hard racehorses, all the hard horses that had problems, they would send to her, and I got to listen to her talk about some things. So it was really fun to like be involved in that. But and then like he even had me trying, like I was like a test, my one horse was like a tester for cannabis for horses, for like hemp, like CBD. So I was giving my horse CBD, but she had navicular, so that's one I just knew was going to be really tricky. But he was like, you know what, you never know, sometimes it's just dietary, like they just need better minerals in their bones. It all starts with that. So I tested out different, things, and he would give me all sorts of stuff for my dog to try. And so yeah, so it was really interesting to work with in that space. And yeah, so it gave me another perspective for sure.
I give True CBD,
Hmm.
typically for her estrus cycle. She also gets
Yep.
raspberry leaf just every
Raspberry
day for
leaf.
that.
I was going to
Yep.
say raspberry leaf over, like
Yep.
Mare Magic is basically just raspberry
Just
leaf.
raspberry leaf. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it's
I
cheaper.
went,
You can cheaper to do
yeah,
raspberry leaf is
yep,
what I've
that's
heard. Yeah.
exactly what I did. I went straight to Smart Pack
Good
and
for
I just
you.
got straight raspberry leaf. And so she gets that every day. And then I give her CBD. I used to
Okay.
give it to her more consistently, but now I give it to her on the weeks that her stifle sticks. Is there
Hmm.
anything that, from your experience giving your horse CBD that I should know?
They don't know enough about it yet. That's what I know. Dogs, they've studied it a lot more, and cats, like there's a lot more like proof,
Yeah, more
scientific
literature
proof.
available for sure.
Yep, yep. And horses, not so much. And that's why he was hesitant to put anything out there for horses because they just hadn't done those studies. I don't have any information about that. I think that's some people can, I think it's just still anecdotal. Like you might find that it really helps.
Mhm.
And some people might not find that have the same results. And so they just haven't been able to like pin it down as much.
What was your experience? Did you feel like it was effective with you and your horse?
It might have. She was a pretty calm mare, so I wasn't worried about that part of it. I was trying to help her with all of her pain. And
Mm.
she had like my vet, like she had primary, secondary pain, she had pain all over the place. And I think if my vet was saying if we could figure out the primary pain, then the secondary wouldn't be a problem. But because the primary pain of the navicular was something that was really challenging. It was causing her to have stifle problems too. And then also, she was really sore in her back. And then she started doing this weird thing around her neck. I don't know. She wouldn't let me touch her. And that's when I was like, okay, this isn't normal. This isn't good. Because she was like she liked to follow me around and she was sensitive, but she would let me touch her and hug her. She would just back away from me and pin her ears. And so that's when I knew.
Okay, interesting. We kind of talked about, you know, your essential oil expertise and your products. You were so kind in, before I even got to know you super well. I was always, a big fan of your products. I found you through Tara. You made a bespoke serum for Trueheart and I. Can you kind of
Yes.
walk me through your thought process there and what you remember that you included? True and I have really enjoyed it. So I'm so grateful.
Good, good. Yeah, that is just, I do that for people now and then just when I feel like I just feel like they need a little bit of like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know how to explain like what it's for because I feel like it's usually for people that I think are struggling with something maybe, and maybe the horse has been struggling with something. And I just feel like it's really good to have like a really beautiful serum just for you that kind of connects you both and that also is something that you can use when you feel like you need it, and when you don't feel like you need it, you don't need to use it. Like it's just, but it's very much I would say intentional for you specifically and your horse specifically. And sometimes it's more for the horse, sometimes more for the human. But I just find that when I ground myself and I feel calm, as you know, it does the same thing for the horse. And I think when we intentionally nurture our horses and pause and let them connect with us and just relax into, even if it's aroma, essential oils. And I just believe so much in the power of essential oils because of how they work on the cellular level. I mean, they're just so delicate and they just it's the compressed version of a plant, and that plant has been here on this earth for a reason. I just feel like it's more powerful than we give it credit for energetically. And that if you can tap into the energetics of the essential oil of the plant, and I know your horse can, that's what I know, the horses do it because I've played with my own animals and they don't have an agenda. They're not trying to sell a product. They're not trying to do anything. They feel it. They feel it. And so that's what I love for the people to get to experience, like their horse experiencing it. And maybe their horse hates it too. That's okay too. But they get to see that their horse reacts to a plant, serum or something for them. And I've had a blast getting to watch my friend and her horse, some of the stuff I make for them. I just enjoy watching an animal communicate like when they're feeling calm. And that's really how it works in my mind, and that might not be how other people use it, but that's how I like to use it. And for you, I didn't know at the time that your horse was grieving, but I was feeling grief for some reason. And I know
Mm.
that cypress essential oil is for grief and trauma and anxiety.
And you knew some of that with my story.
Yes, exactly. And I knew that it'd be like that one thing that pieces you both together, that connects you both. And that's typically what I like to do, is kind of find that one oil, that one plant that does something specific that kind of pieces you together. And then, you had mentioned too, I think I added some citrus to it. And again, that was totally for your horse, because I find her, from what I've seen and what I can feel, she is like a joyous little thing. She's a
Mm-hmm.
little happy, bright, joyful energy. Even though she's a mare, I know mares can be like, meh, meh, kind of pizzy now and then and
Oh yeah,
have an
she's
opinion.
sassy.
Sassy. Yeah, they're all
A little
sassy. And
extra spice, yeah, but she's joyful. Yeah, I always say grace is my heart, true is my joy.
yes, and I didn't even know that you said that either. That was new to me too. I wanted something joyful in there, and she might tap into that joy from it too. But and it's a cellular level, so it's on a deeper level. But I do believe that that deeper level helps to kind of quell and calm the nervous system. And anytime you can do that for riders and horses together, we need that. Like that's what it's best when we're calm, right? It's always best when we're calm.
Yeah,
And so yeah,
and
so I,
present.
I thought about doing it exact for like others, and I realized that it's really just for like people I know that I want to do it, and people that just where I just feel compelled or like called to do it. So yeah, so I was going to offer it as a service. And I'm like, I would get stretched too thin, and I would feel like I wasn't able to really tap into everyone. So I do like to make those, and I do make them for my friends, and I do make them for my own horses and my own, like close people. But I tend to make them for people more than I do animals nowadays, but I like to kind of do both.
It has been such a gift. I have the dropper you sent, and then I put some of it in a roller bottle that I keep in my truck, and I usually roll it on my
Good.
hands when I park, and I take a big deep breath and I go over and see True and offer her a sniff, and sometimes she just breathes it in and other times she's not into it.
Yep.
But
That's
it's this
exactly right.
nice little moment that kind of helps me be a little bit more present. I think it's especially in today's day and age, we're all so connected with technology being amazing, but it's hard to put it down and be fully with where your body is sometimes.
Yes.
And this sense of smell, especially it's a beautiful fragrance you've created. I mean, all of your products smell so yummy, but the grounding, and I assume it's the cypress. I'd never smelled cypress before, paired with like this bright shining, like almost orange blossom kind of smell.
Hmm.
It's both strong and also very gentle at the same time, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that.
Oh, that's so good. That's kind of my signature like formulation. Is I love the power and I love the gentle. And that's always been my thing. Like even with branding, I was like, I just want it to be powerful and gentle at the same time, and tough and gentle, because I think even as horse people,
Hmm.
anyone who's around a horse, we have to be pretty tough, but we also have to be really gentle. And so I love the contrast of those two, I don't know, emotions or whatever you would call those. So I'm going to come up with another product, and I want to see what you think if you would use it. I want to use Epsom salt for like the magnesium aspect of like a magnesium butter for muscle aches and joints, and with arnica and maybe some turmeric oil or black cumin seeds. So I want something to be all for like just inflammation. As you know, like, how we have Epsom salt for like, we could do Epsom salt packs for when a horse like hurts themselves.
Hmm.
But I want to be able to just slather something on and be in like know that it's actually like helping.
Are you in
So
my
that's
head? I literally just
really,
bought, yeah. So with True, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the cold snap. Maybe she's growing. Maybe her butt got tall again. Her butt always grows first. And it
that's so
usually is
cute.
like, yeah. And I like, you feel like you're riding downhill for about a week until her shoulders catch up.
Aww.
But that's usually when her stifle starts sticking. And so
Hmm.
since the beginning of when I got her, she's had a sticky stifle, or both of them have stuck on her. And I've had vets look at her, we've had radiographs, and the best anyone can come up with is, fortunately, her radiographs are crystal clear.
That's good.
But
Yep.
We think her bones, and apparently this is common in young horses, never having had a
Mm-hmm.
young horse before, I had no idea. Her bones grow faster than her soft tissue and tendons and cartilage do. And so horses with
Okay.
their stifles, they have
Never
actually
knew
three
this.
tendons. One of them goes across the patella kneecap, just like our knees. My boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
is in medicine. He's a doctor. And so I showed him True's radiographs, and he was like, oh, this is just like a human knee. But they have a
Wow.
third tendon that goes across that fits into a groove in their bone that helps them lock their knees so they can sleep standing up. And the problem
Okay.
is her bones are growing too long too fast, and her tendon
Ah,
isn't lengthening as quickly. And so because
okay.
it's shorter, it gets stuck in that groove when she doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
for it to. And so her
Mm-hmm.
stifle locks on her, and it really
Aw.
bothers her. And the vet's like, I don't think she's in any pain. She might get sore once in a while, but it's probably more annoying than anything else. But I've been using, it's like an arnica, I think it's Sore No More, that I've been getting at Murdoch's. But just this last week, she had the zoomies and I let her go. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I bet she's going to be sore. So we stopped
Mm-hmm.
by Murdoch's and I got her magnesium and arnica in like a salve. But I would much prefer to be able to purchase something from you, because I know that your understanding of plants is probably going to be a lot more holistic and complete of a product than just the magnesium and arnica.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, but that's why I'm curious. Like, so I've been trying to figure out, well, what does it look like and how do I make it whole and complete? Because I think you're right. That's what I think my people, my followers, people that like my products, that's what they're looking for. And that's what they've asked for me to do, is to come up with like a really complete product. And so I've been playing with it and testing it. And I'm going to have my lab. And then also my lab chemist is a toxicologist. She knows ingredients like so well, but I'm trying to figure out what's the consistency. What kind of consistency do we want? And that's the tricky part is, like I keep thinking of like a buttery, something that you would just like rub in and it would just like absorb, right? And it doesn't make your hands stingy. You know how like liniments can make your hands. I don't know if you ever use that liniment that like it's like leaves your hands like burn. So I'm like
Mm-hmm.
something that doesn't burn,
Yeah.
something that you can just rub in nicely, but it's packed with like magnesium from the Epsom salt and arnica, which I know arnica for me has been so great. So you'll have to be a tester for me because I want to like try a few different like formulas to kind of see what we all like because
Yeah.
I think it could be a really great product that doesn't smell bad, something that smells nice
Yeah.
and does all the nice things, and then also you don't mind it rubbing it into your hands when you're done.
Right. Yeah, I've tried putting Thermoflex, which is basically Ben gave her horses on True, and it was, I think, way too much for her.
Yeah, see, well, they
So,
sometimes it's like, oh,
yeah,
but
I mean,
I've
it's a
been
lot.
rubbing.
Ben gave is a lot. You got to be in the mood.
Yes, yes, exactly. So I've been playing with like using arnica oil and making like different blends with arnica oil and putting it on my horse's knee. And I think it actually helps. Like I really do think that the arnica is really helping him. So that's why I was like, I need to come up with my own product again. So
I'm so excited.
that's next, but I want to do it right, and it's so hard because you can't please everyone, as you know. It's like you just can't please everyone, and at first I tried to please everyone and I would get really down and I'd be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and I just
Yeah.
couldn't please everyone.
I
And
know
then
there
I'm
was a
like, you
lot
know
of
what?
drama about the neem oil.
Yeah, neem oil at first was like a big thing, and I was like like gut punch. But then I'm like, wait a second, but neem oil does such a great job, so I don't know if I'm going to take it out, but so I always have to like prepare myself for the back, like for the haters. But it's like I remember someone saying to like Justin Bieber, they were like commenting on his thread or whatever. This was a report. He's like, remember, you follow me, and it's sort of like Post Malone said this too. He's like, I don't sing for the haters. I sing for the people that love me and love my
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Love my music. And that's when I finally had to get to that point where I was like, you know what, it's okay. I'm not going to please everyone, and I'm not going to make this product for everyone because we all have different horses, different needs, just like anything. But I'm going to keep doing what I know that I love. And if there's people out there that love like a whole product, just like you, like a whole like complete product that's made with love, because I do this with love. Like I really truly do this because I love it. And that's what I hope translates to the people that also love plants and love to nurture their horses.
Yeah. And create those intentional present moments with their horse.
Yes, yes, because that's what's the most meaningful. I think that's why we're all with horses. We love the freedom, we love the presence, we love connecting, we love spending time with our horse and not going to like go out shopping and buying everything. We'd rather be with our horse, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm finding is those
Or
people
shopping for your horse.
yeah, or shopping for your horse. You know, but that's how we are, right? I'm like, don't you know, like we've all like I've like not gotten a lot of things for myself, but got things for a horse instead. I mean, all the
Totally.
time. So I think we can all relate to that. And that's kind of where I am. Is like, you know, I'm gonna relate to the people that relate to me. And this is where it is. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What good advice, too. I think, for a lot of my listeners, I think we found our way into horses because we all possess or we're looking for that level of sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And horses they're the embodiment of that. They are strength, and they are also the most sensitive creatures I know of that exist. They pick up on
Yes.
everything, things that
Everything.
we can't even perceive.
Oh, I just
And
love
in
it.
doing that, I think, it creates this level of beautiful sensitivity that sometimes as a sensitive person myself, it's hard, I think, to show up and let yourself be seen in a world that, especially with technology providing a level of distance, and putting yourself at the mercy of keyboard warriors or people with other opinions that, may or may not say this directly to your face.
Right.
So I appreciate your vulnerability and being able to share, your struggle. I mean, you are at heart a horse girl
Exactly.
who is, given this beautiful gift to the world and creating the products and sharing your knowledge and expertise. So I really appreciate you sharing your perspective with that. What other advice can you share with us that might help someone looking to be a little bit more mindful or present or sensitive, whether that's grooming their horse or just in their horsemanship journey?
You know, I don't have advice because I think we all have our own way of finding what feels right. I just think that it's okay to pause and take your time. And I used to try to push it because I wanted people to think I knew what I was doing. And as I've gotten older, I find I like to slow down and pay attention to the horse like more than I ever would have. And that's where I'm finding that my horse is becoming calmer and more relaxed and trusting. We're trusting each other so much more because A, he knows I'm listening, and B, I'm listening. I'm slowing down to listen. And that's as I've gotten older, that's what's becoming for me. And you know, I learn every single day. I mean, every single day I'm learning
That's the
something.
beauty of it.
Yes. And I mean, and that's why I love to just go watch Tara work. I'm like, can I just watch you work with that horse? And I just love to observe and
Mm-hmm.
learn. And she's, the subtleties of how she rides, even like, I mean, I'm like, you just make that look so easy. It's just so subtle. And that's where I'm like grooving on like the subtleties of things now.
Hmm. Okay. So slow down, look for the subtle things, listen
Yeah,
for
I mean,
the
I think
subtle
if we,
things.
I think, and also giving yourself permission to slow down. I think that's the
Mm,
biggest thing. You and I
yes.
mean, it's like that is the biggest thing is giving yourself permission to just go slower. Like that was what Tara taught me. I was like, I need to work on how to teach Diesel to side pass over to the gate because we have all these gates, right? He's a dude horse. He goes straight, that's what he does. And so I was getting frustrated and I was rushing, and I was on her Maggie doing it. And she's like, just when you walk up to the gate, just stop and take a breath. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Like she had to remind me. And then I did it beautifully with her. And then I did the same thing with my horse. I was like, okay, I don't need to rush through this and pretend like I know what I'm doing. This is a brand new horse to me, brand new like gait, everything. I
Yeah.
might as well just slow down.
Huh.
And
And
so I
breathe.
think,
Don't
and
forget to breathe.
breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And I'm sure you've heard Tara say, sit back, sit deep, breathe, all those
Yep.
things.
Yep.
But, you're trying to do like 8,000 things at one time when you're
Right.
writing. And so that would be my biggest, yeah, learning lesson that I've learned is just to be okay with slowing down and, and not beating yourself up for going slow.
Yeah. And your products are great resources for reminding yourself to take a breath and go
Yes,
slow and be
exactly.
present. I have so enjoyed learning a little bit more with you and connecting more with you and getting to chat.
Likewise.
This has been so much fun. Where can I send my listeners to find your products if they are interested in any of the goodies that we've talked about today and supporting another horsewoman from Colorado?
I love it. So Electric Pony, like exactly how you would say it, Electric Pony Co. C as in cat, O as in office.
CO like Colorado.
Like Colorado, exactly.
Okay.
Electric Pony Colorado, or CO.
Okay. electricponyco.com.
Yep.
Wonderful. I'm so excited.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I hope to come down there and take some videos and pictures of you too, so that you
Oh
can
my
be my
gosh.
model.
We would love that.
If you're open to it, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. That would be a huge honor.
We'll get it booked sometime when you have some time.
Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, I'm so excited. Wow, I have learned so much from talking with Jennifer. Her perspective on herbal medicine, horsemanship, and being a small business owner has been really incredible. And I'm so appreciative that she was able to share her time and some of her expertise with us on today's episode. Again, please head on over to www.electricponyco.com to check out her products and www.the-daily-ride.com to support True Heart Healing. True Heart Healing is my nonprofit that I founded to support veterans, active duty service members, children with disabilities and life-altering illnesses and their families develop skills to help connect in genuine, stabilizing relationships, experience joy, find hope, and discover purpose through equine assisted therapeutic activities. Thanks so much for being here today with me on the Daily Ride podcast. And until next time, enjoy the ride.